You got your T? You got your A?
Got my T.
Hello and welcome to the least fanfare episode 50 of any podcast known to man. This is Unrelenting, episode 50. And it's numerology. It's also 11/11/22, episode 50. And the support shown for this show has been unbelievable.
Tremendous.
Yes, tremendous in a different way. Tremendous in a very low way. But it's okay. Because this show still is and always will be.
It's unrelenting.
Yes, it is.
Unrelenting.
Yeah. It will always be unrelenting.
That's kind of the definition.
Is it? How are you, Gene?
Even if no one's listening.
I'm Darren O'Neill. He is surging, as it says in my
that's right.
Clean feed.
Surging.
Where we last left you is we upset a whole lot of people cutting you off at the end of last episode.
Well, no, that was not a we. That was a you.
Well, it's the royal we.
Uh-huh.
People were like, it sounded like Gene was right in the middle of a thought. And I'm like, yeah, but if I don't cut him off at some point, the show goes 48 hours.
It's like, yeah, we got a hard stop, man. The radio station's going to cut us off here. I'm pulling the plug on Gene.
Yeah, the affiliates are, we have to cut his microphone. We have reclaimed our time, and we have to cut the microphone.
I mean, for a second there, I was thinking, what shit, was I talking about COVID again? God damn it.
Could be. Yeah. No, that's only YouTube that'll cut you off.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, we had the election, and I have to say right up front, you were correct.
Mm-hmm.
All the reports coming in were like, it's going to be a big win for the Republicans. And while it seems they might somehow eke out control of both the Senate and the House, there was no huge wave of support.
No, I mean, there was the flip on the House side, which obviously is a good thing. Let's not forget about that. But yeah, this is a smaller flip in the midterms. Smallest one in the last 20 years.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize usually whoever the incumbent party is loses bigly in the midterm.
Yeah. That's typical.
And where they did here, not massively. And this is going to come down to, and again, the magic number. If there's one thing we've been taught by No Agenda, the magic number pops up. And the first 24 hours after everybody knowing there was going to be a runoff in the Georgia Senate race between Warnock and Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker, his campaign brought in, how much do you think? Yeah, $3.3 million in donations.
Mm-hmm.
Not 3 million, not over 3 million, 3.3 million.
Yep.
That means there's something to watch here.
That means they're done.
It means there's something to watch. It could mean they're done.
Yeah.
It's going to, well, see, this is the one thing I hate about the runoffs. And we had massive amounts of arguments with people about ranked choice voting. And the one thing I really hate about the way things are done, the way they are now, are these runoff elections, because there's no reason why. And this is the same thing that happened 2 years ago in the Senate. There's no reason why the people of Georgia should have that kind of pull. And I understand their vote is their vote, but you should never know, like, you're going to be the one place that's the tipping point.
I really like runoffs. I would love it if every state did that. I think that would be much better, because what that allows you to do is to vote with your conscience on the first vote and be practical on the second vote.
You go, yeah, I'm looking at my wallet.
And the Libertarian Party would start getting 15, 20, 30% of those elections coming in, which would be awesome. Because, again, I never have been a Republican. I've voted Republican quite a bit, but I would much rather vote Libertarian. And, that's one thing that voting for Ross Perot taught me, is that's how you get Bill Clinton.
I'm Ross, and you're the boss. But this concept that Georgia, now the whole country is watching Georgia There's tons of money. Lindsey Graham's like, I'm moving down to Georgia. We're going to get Herschel elected. We're going to do nothing for the next 4
Lindsey
weeks.
just wants to do something else with Herschel, I think.
Perhaps. You never know.
Oh, we're pretty sure.
But this whole
That's
concept
the royal we.
that we have to care about Georgia, that they know that their vote is, it's not holding more weight.
And it would not make any difference if there was an actual landslide.
No.
If there was already a Republican majority in the Senate, Georgia's vote would just not matter. No one would be talking about it.
Correct. Well, this is why the runoffs are a bad thing, when it's like, well, everybody else has figured out who their states are going for, but you guys, you're now.
I think the way to solve that is just to do it the other way around, to have the runoffs a week ago and to have the final elections the same day as everybody else.
I would agree with that. See, I think there should be then a primary, and then that should always be down to the final 2 candidates then.
No. This 2 candidate bullshit is bullshit.
You're going to get
this
down
is why we're as fucked as we are, is because we only have 2 parties.
Well, the people with the 2 most votes, doesn't even matter. In California, that's 2 Democrats. And
okay,
that's
fair enough. That's a good point. In Alaska, it was 2 Republicans and a Democrat, and of course, the Democrat wins.
If they're split, right. Which is why you have to get down to the final 2. Now, if the final 2 are both Democrats or the final 2 are both Republicans, then great. One of them's going to win. So you have them you go head to head.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I don't see the Republicans getting Georgia.
Well,
I think the Democrats know exactly what they need to do in Georgia, and they're going to do it.
I think both sides know exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, but except that the Democrats can do more of the doing than the Republicans.
But can they, even after this hateful and obviously racist law has been in effect in Georgia? It's amazing how that didn't really play out for the Democrats.
Yeah, I think they'll still be able to.
Stacey Abrams lost again, though. How come why can't they cheat well enough to get her elected? Because
are you sure they like her?
I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know, I guess, who they actually are. And they're just like, screw you. It's like Beto. Like, you can keep running, but no, never gonna.
There's a couple of articles I saw in the liberal media that were saying, this is Beto's final knockout.
Well, he's definitely gone through a lot of donor money.
Yeah, with nothing to show for it.
Yeah, that's the problem. 0 to show for it. Well, there was actually somebody on MSNBC, to be fair, I don't know if this was one of their regular commentators or whatever they've got there, but there was somebody on MSNBC. I just saw the headline, and I know headlines can be very deceiving, but the headline was MSNBC, somebody is touting a Fetterman Abrams ticket for the Democrat presidential.
Well, that probably would win then.
Can you even imagine that one?
Oh, they get the votes for it.
Yeah, they would somehow. Well, they'd get something for it. It would be entertaining. There's no question about that.
Well, my ideal ticket for the coming elections is going to be DeSantis, Kerry Lake.
Now, the DeSantis and Trump fight, how bad is this going to get? Now, I don't know.
Oh, it's going to get bad. Trump does not want to have somebody challenging him.
Oh, I agree with that. But I don't even believe half the stories I get about, Donald Trump threw a fit and did this and said this.
No, I believe it.
I don't. Why would you believe it? That's it. I don't believe anything.
Because he's publicly said stupid shit like that.
Yeah, but I want to see him publicly saying the stuff.
He did. That's the point.
Well, where's the
audio?
Said,
I have so much dirt on DeSantis, even his wife doesn't know.
Where's the audio of all this stuff? There's some of it out there, and I know Trump will go after. I mean, the de-sanctimonious. It was very funny because he pulled that line out.
De-sanctimonious DeSantis, yes.
He pulled it out in Philadelphia, but then he went down to Florida, and he's like, your wonderful governor is getting reelected.
Yeah, you should be a governor there forever. Yeah, you're a great governor. Just stay a governor in Florida.
He doesn't like the concept.
He doesn't want competition.
Hey, I get that. But DeSantis is the one person
that actually won.
That actually had the red wave. Not that he just won. He even flipped Miami-Dade County, which is a very, very
which is
Democrat.
awesome. Yeah.
So if you're seeing that, you're going, well, okay, now on a national stage, what the Republicans need.
It'll be interesting.
You need somebody that can flip those blue areas, and Trump cannot do that. Trump will never be able to do that. As much as I like what Trump says with his policies.
That's what I was trying to explain to a buddy of mine yesterday, who's a very Trumpist guy. I said, look, here's the issue: is that the core base on both sides will always vote for the party no matter what.
Yes.
Okay. And you're part of that core base, buddy.
Yeah. Your vote is right. If you're like,
your vote is like, no, it doesn't matter because everybody knows what you're voting. But here's the issue. In that middle gray area of people, and I'm not even going to say anyone's going to flip their vote. Here's the difference. They'll either come out to vote or they won't come out to vote. And if Trump's running, some of the people that would come out for DeSantis to vote are not going to come out and vote for Trump.
And I think the Republicans had
and I'm one of them.
Route.
I'm not voting for Trump. I said this before the midterms, is that I'm done with Trump. I think he's a liability at this point. I think it's DeSantis, or if somebody else comes up in the next 2 years, but it should not be Trump, because Trump will lose the election and we'll have another 4 years of a Democrat. We need somebody that's competitive. And Trump, as much as you may love what he did in the bull in a china shop scenario, he is too much of a liability, because what he does is he motivates the Democrats to try harder to make sure he doesn't win.
Yes, they're so afraid of him, but are the Democrats at this point less
they're not afraid of him? They're not afraid of him at all. They just hate him.
They totally are.
They're not afraid of Trump at all.
They totally are.
Because he didn't do shit the first time. He didn't do anything. He left the same people in charge. That's the thing, is he was a failure as a president in terms now, I will say that in terms of foreign policy, he did very good. But in terms of domestic and hiring the right group of people to actually change things for the better,
he did have a lot of crappy people.
Nothing at all.
The economy here was also excellent. And if the economy was COVID, the economy would have been flying so high that there was no way Biden would have gotten elected.
Biden probably would have fucked the economy up, but it got fucked up even more with Biden because of COVID.
Oh, there's no question.
So, I mean, I do think that any Republican would do better domestically on the economy than any Democrat, but there's no magic there with Trump. What I wanted Trump in office for, he achieved, which is to be a bull in the china shop, to confuse people. And he did that very well with the foreign policy, because everybody from Russia to North Korea was like, we have no idea if this fucker's going to push the nukes. Like, he is crazy. He's not somebody that is predictable, and he's not. And so that was good. But now he is predictable. Now we've got 4 years of his record. Now we know what happens. And now is not the time to vote for a guy that's basically going to be a lame duck for the entire 4 years.
Well, that's also true. There's no question about that. Do you think the midterms actually have a red wave if the Republicans would have gotten in front of the abortion issue? Because it was a way bigger issue, it seems, than anybody would have predicted.
I don't think it was. I think the abortion issue...
we have to just go by the polling, and this was one of the main issues, which is insane to me, because how many people does it affect on a...
How many people that get abortions, right?
Right.
No, I think that this is a red herring that is being pushed by the media to make people on the right side of the aisle think that this is why y'all lost, is because of abortion. I really think it's a red herring. In day-to-day life and just talking, and I know plenty of Democrats, unfortunately, no one brings up abortion.
Well, right. They're like,
they just
my wallet's disappearing.
Care.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing that they bring up, honestly, is that, like, Gavin Newsom is going to keep bumping up their taxes in California, because a lot of them that I know still live in California.
And they still like voting for
or
Gavin
Austin.
Newsom?
Well, there's no alternative. I mean, again, it's like a Democrat versus Democrat state. They're obviously not going to vote for a Republican. So the question is, well, Democrats are pushing Newsom. That's who gets in.
It's the epitome of the Overton window in California. Like, we just have to vote for the guy that maybe won't nuke us.
Well, they're definitely not going to vote for a Nazi, which means no Republicans.
Well, of course, because they're bad. Anybody
all Republicans are not. There's no difference. In California, the word Nazi is synonymous with the word Republican. It literally has the same meaning. And thank you, Trump, by the way. Didn't used to be the case. Ronald Reagan's from California.
Yeah, but they didn't really like him in California.
But at this point, Nazi and the Republican means the same thing. So again, I think that Trump's got a hell of an ego.
Well, no kidding.
And
breaking news right here on the Unrelenting Show.
Right?
Donald Trump.
I don't know if you all realize that, but Trump has a bit of an ego. And I think that if you watch the people that I watch, let's put it that way. So meaning libertarian / conservative leaning people on YouTube, the people that I often will post on No Agenda Social the videos of, everyone's saying what I'm saying right now. It's like, okay, it's time for Trump just to, gracefully bow out and let people that can actually win the elections move forward. Because there is a point where the votes against Trump are greater than the votes against any other conservative running. So how much do you want to motivate your competition to cheat? And I'm perfectly fine saying there's clearly cheating going on with the Democrats. The question is, how motivated do you want them to do that?
Well, if you want to win, here was the thing. For most Republicans, I believe, up until a week ago here, within this last week, they're like, well, we don't know who else can win at the national level. And I think DeSantis made a very strong point. I don't think there's anybody else. I don't think there's anybody else that can come through at this point for the next election cycle that the average Republican would go, yeah, he's a better choice or she's a better choice than Trump, except for DeSantis. Now, there's a lot of people that are hoping the two of them somehow combined, and I think that would be a horrible thing.
Oh, it'd be horrible, yeah.
Because this also then puts the stink, if you will. Let's just imagine.
Yep. It defeats the advantage of DeSantis by having him come in as a Veep. A Veep does nothing. A Veep position is basically
it's great if you win.
It's a fluffer position.
It's great if you win, but for DeSantis, then if you don't win,
you're done.
Right.
Your career is done.
It's like you are now tied to Trump and you will probably never win. So that is not now if they do actually win, that's great, but that is a big toss up for DeSantis, and I don't know why he would want to do it.
Yep. Exactly. So
it's a chess game.
I think that right now the best thing that people, if you don't want either a Biden or a somebody Democrat else victory in 2 years, the best thing you can do is donate money to the DeSantis campaign.
The No Agenda Millennial says, I can't believe this, but I think I actually agree with the Russian stooge on this. You are bringing some people who are like, I can't wait. I don't get it. They agree with you.
Yeah, well,
this is the way it is. If you pay attention, you won't agree with everybody on every issue.
I've predicted every election that's happened fairly well. I mean, I might miss a race or two here and there, but I've got a pretty good gut feel for this stuff. And I think right now that the liability of Trump is greater than whatever he brings on the plus side. It's just, you want the other side to not try as hard. And the way to do that is they're going to think, DeSantis, he's a Florida guy. There's no way he's going to win. They're not going to try as hard to go against him.
Right. Because whether what they say is true or not, the scare factor, the fear factor that, Donald Trump's going to get back in and do this, that gets people off their couch.
This is what they're putting in all their fundraising letters. And like Adam, I'm on the Hillary campaign list as well.
Have you given a lot of money to the Hillary campaign?
$5 because you need to give them something to stay on.
Right.
So I did have to give them $5, but they are absolutely using Trump as a way to elicit more funds. And it's not just more funds, it's to get out the vote effort. It's like, do you remember how horrible having the Nazi in the White House was? You know, we had to impeach him twice, and this cockroach still won't die.
And
This is not what you want 2 years before the election.
Well, and I don't believe Trump has this in his DNA to give up, which is unfortunate because if he would have just maybe we need to send a copy and somebody get a what does Trump use? DVD, VHS, send him
VHS.
Send him a copy of War Games, and then maybe he'll figure out that sometimes the only winning move is not to play, and the best thing he could do for the party right now.
That's good. That's wise.
Is to pull out and say, you know what, I'm done with politics.
Yeah, he doesn't even have to be. I don't think there's anything wrong with him being as or even more involved than the previous presidents.
Okay, let me just say, I'm not going to run again.
Right,
is what he needs to say. And that would take away so much of the Democrats.
Now, if you want to go into, 3D chess, then what he needs to do is have these conversations privately, but then publicly talk like he's running and become a lightning rod so the Democrats keep focusing on him. And all of a sudden, DeSantis comes out of left field and they're like, what?
It's the shell
We thought
game.
Trump was going to beat him.
It's the shell game, and then DeSantis.
Now that would put him into a much better, respectable position, in my opinion, if he was to do that, because then he is doing something for the good of the party, the good of the people, and not the good of Trump's ego.
Well, that's kind of
what are the odds, though?
Right. Well, with his ego, none. But that is what happened with Obama. That's how he got in. It was like, wait. No, we had Hillary. We had Hillary, and who's this guy? We don't know anything. Then the whole
one-term senator thing, right? Yeah, one-term senator. Yeah, I mean, they might as well run AOC. She'd probably win.
We would have to leave very quickly through the back door.
Well, I'm not. I'm taking my damn state with me if I'm leaving.
Well, there is a big push now for Texas to become an independent state once again.
Over 50% of Texas adults in surveys want to leave.
Like, we could be our own damn country. It's like, I don't doubt that. I mean, it's not like the army is the
Texas flag is the last flag of the Republic of Texas.
Get it back.
It's literally, we don't even have to change flags to leave.
Just like, we're here. We're our own little country again. Although you'd be taken over by Mexico in like a week.
That's why I was joking about that. And of course, dude named Ben, who's like a 10th generation Texas guy, he's like, oh, no. We probably take over Mexico ourselves.
See, now that would be interesting. They weren't afraid of the United States, but those Texans, they're fucking crazy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys just get drunk one night and it's like, wait, we took over. Well, who? Geez.
Well, the whole history of Texas, you got to laugh at a little bit. I mean, you kind of feel bad for the Mexicans, because the whole reason that people ended up here is because Mexico was giving away free land to try and bring in some Westerners, Europeans, because this whole territory was nothing but tumbleweed and Indians, American Indians, i.e. Native Americans. And so they were doing offers, and I can't remember how much it was, 100 acres or something, 100 acres a mule, whatever it was. Mexico was the one that was enticing Americans, or anybody really, to homestead in this territory. And a bunch of guys from Tennessee and Kentucky took advantage of that because they got into a lot of bar fights back home. And people said, you ought to take up that deal with Mexico, you fucker. And so they all moved here. And once they did that, they're like, well, we don't want to learn Spanish.
Right.
Screw that shit. Let's just start up our own country. And basically, got into a war with Mexico. Like relatively few people got into a war with Mexico. And eventually ended up creating Texas by first losing and then winning. And then, unfortunately, as Ben says, and I tend to agree with him, they kept pestering the United States was trying to get them to accept Texas as a new state, which there was a movement literally from day one of the creation of the Republic of Texas to join the Union, not by everybody, but certainly by some people. And they kept failing over and over and over and over until finally there were some bribes paid, and and I think the political conditions were right. Essentially, the U.S. realized that if they don't take Texas on as a state, it's going to become a liability.
Well, you look at the maps now. When these voting things happen, these elections happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when they color code the country, it's like 98% red. It's just that the little blue areas are like everybody living on top of each other.
Yeah, and that's why the rich liberals call it flyover country.
Uh-huh.
Because that's not places that anybody lives that you give a shit about. You just fly over those places.
Why don't we just take Texas? We build walls around San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and just create a new country that they're all their own little areas.
Yeah. I've always been in favor of California seceding. Always.
It would be better. I mean, they don't.
I've always been in favor of California sinking.
Well, we could do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can't we make that happen yet? Can't we?
Well, we can. I mean, the submarines, the Russian subs definitely have the capability to build a tsunami big enough to sink California. But so far we haven't convinced Russia to do that.
We haven't asked for Russia's help to do that yet.
Uh-huh.
I know there was a lot of big news that Brittany Griner's being moved to a work camp somewhere in Russia, and there's
Siberia.
Ooh, that's not good.
I don't. She couldn't teach basketball.
And they're still going off on how they're, illegal, not illegally, but, detaining her without cause. It's like, but there is cause.
And that's the irony. Is that in the mainstream media, you love hearing this illegal war, this illegal detainment. It's like, what that's an opinion, dude. You're literally contradicting facts, and you're sticking in the word illegal in because it makes you feel good.
Yes, because you believe it's wrong.
Like, no, they shouldn't. They shouldn't do that. Therefore, it's illegal.
It's right. It's like it just blows my mind. But this is where we're at.
Yeah,
because people somehow assume if you live in, if you're in your mom's basement in Portland, you're like, wait, why would they arrest somebody for having marijuana? That's not right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And people, I don't know if people really grasp how very different parts of the world are.
Yeah. And I think also people that are more public in the U.S. tend to get away with a lot more.
You mean like
meaning
celebrities?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a certain expectation of celebrities and by celebrities that the laws apply to the little people, not the celebrities.
Well, you can't get past the Me Too movement now. And I have no idea what is true or what is not with this kind of stuff happening. Warren Beatty now, that there's some woman that said when she was 14, he was inappropriate with her, but this is going back like 50 years. It's like, is there not a statute of limitations?
No, apparently not. I like the hashtag all women lie.
Everybody lies.
Well, but it's true. And I think it's a hashtag that's time has come.
Well, you see now that, and I think it was the same girl that was tied to Epstein, that there were the photos of her, Guthrie or something like that, Virginia Guthrie, that had the pictures with her and Prince Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
I believe she was the one that had been accusing Alan Dershowitz as being somebody that was involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
And she swore up and down. Now he's been fighting this legally, and she's finally now come around and said, it was a very trying time. I was very screwed up. I may have been incorrect about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you may have been in.
This whole problem arises from the fact that we don't have legalized prostitution.
Well, yes, But forget about that for a minute. The fact that you're accusing somebody and saying, yes, this person definitely did this. And then you come around after a while and go, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, well, this is the problem without having 100% proof when you go after somebody, because this is ruining people's lives and it's on an accusation. And you're right. Everybody lies. So if you're willing to ruin somebody's life on an accusation, knowing the truth that everybody lies, then this is why the United States was originally put down as a nation of laws, where you needed proof. You couldn't just say, oh, this person did this, because this is for people who are lying knowingly, who are willing to do whatever it takes to win that election, to make a lot of money.
There's a big difference between somebody that got raped and somebody that used their sexuality to get something they wanted when they were in their 20s.
Oh, totally. Well,
and the Me Too movement seemed to have completely flipped that script on its head. And in a lot of ways, thanks to, what's her name? Johnny Depp's ex. Amber Heard, who was one of the original Me Too liars.
Yeah. And she was smoking back in the day.
She was pretty good looking. I mean, I think she probably still clean herself up right now and look decent. Not looking great right now, but she's got good genetics. And that's the problem, is that sometimes, not always, but sometimes people with good genetics really learn how to be a psychopath.
So
which she clearly is.
I'm
positive she's a psychopath. I do, actually, yeah.
I think you're right.
I have quite good genetics.
Well, I think you're absolutely right on the Amber Heard concept. Because also you're in that celebrity area. You see that people will believe you just because they want to believe you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting thing. I still go back to this whole concept that equality is never going to exist. There's some gymnast, I don't remember her name, cute little blonde gymnast. That.
Yes, that one.
Right. Whatever her name is. There was a coach, like an old coach that's a gymnast coach. Like, this is bringing the sport back, years. This is bad for the sport. And
Nadia Comaneci.
Right. No, that's not her. She was older now.
Okay.
But whoever this girl is now.
Back in my day.
Right. That was back in our day. And Mary Lou Retton. And that was.
Oh, yeah.
Now, though, this girl is making 7 figures. I think it was like $2 million a year on OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach is mad about that. And I'm like, but this has nothing to do with her when she's competing. This has nothing to do with her skills as a gymnast.
How many years do you think before women are going to start, and it's not just women on OnlyFans, but before women start suing OnlyFans for ruining their lives because they were vulnerable and young and stupid and decided to go on there and didn't realize what it would mean, and therefore they get to sue OnlyFans? I don't think it'll be that long. I think it's going to happen very soon.
It will.
Yeah.
It will definitely happen.
Because this concept of not my fault in America is one of the things leading to the collapse of America.
Yes, you made a choice.
There's no accountability.
And then you don't want to stand behind it. But in this case, this is a lot of money. I mean, this is a ton of money, millions of dollars. And the question is, why is she making this money?
Yeah.
It's not because she's skilled. It's not because she's a skilled gymnast. She's making it because she's hot.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There's no other reason.
And that's okay.
Right.
I think that it is a trade-off. People are trading money for hotness. There's a
money for hotness. Now there's a show title.
Right. I know, right? Money for hotness sounds like a good show. I'd watch that. There's a YouTuber who is a guy who dresses like a girl. I think the technical term would be transvestite. Not gay. But
thanks for bringing the technical terms into this, Gene, teaching people.
Well, I'd like to make sure people use the right lingo here. And I've posted links to them, like, I don't know, a year ago or something to Nudge on the social. but occasionally pops up on my recommended videos.
Something
so
else
I got to catch up. Yeah, there you go. And so basically, he was a gamer YouTuber, and then I don't know if it was a dare or some kind of drunk thing or something, but he ended up dressing as a girl for one of his YouTube videos while playing video games. And he has really good genetics. Like, he has very feminine looking face, and just in general.
Now, is that considered good genetics for a male, though? I mean, in the normal
well, if that's
world,
what your goal is, it's good for his goal.
I guess, yes.
So here's the irony. So he's into guns and knives and shit like that. And he doesn't even pretend to do a chick voice. So it's very much a guy voice. But he's dressing in very much feminine clothes. And so he was doing this, as on a lark or whatever. Not doing it in private life. Donations went way up. He was like a nobody YouTuber gamer. And then he became a holy shit. Oh, just check out this guy. So here's the thing. Late now, and he's gotten shockingly, in what I've seen in the past, is maybe like $1,000 in one, day's worth of streaming. Like, damn, that's good income. So I watched a couple videos last week.
So you bought a lot of women's clothing?
Yeah, so people are buying women's clothing from him. Yeah, absolutely. So right now, he's got a guy who clearly has more money than, whatever. I don't care what people spend money on. So this
Obviously,
guy...
you buy virtual spaceships.
I know, I buy virtual spaceships. Technically, I guess I've probably spent equivalent to what this guy's spending, just not on other dudes. I've spent it on pretend spaceships.
Right.
But
way better.
He sent him last month $30,000 from one guy.
Wow.
One guy. And he's getting just pretty much anything in his size in the female rack on Amazon is showing up in the mail. And this guy is just the top donor guy. I mean, I'll bet you his income right now is around $50,000 to $60,000 a month. And all he's got to do for it is wear women's clothing. Now, maybe he's just hit on a particular fetish. And I could totally see that of, people, and I think by people, mostly men, who get off on being able to dress another guy up in girl clothing.
Is this the point of the conversation, Gene, where you tell us what your dress size is?
Oh, no, I think that number, I don't even know what that number is, but I'm sure it's pretty damn big. So, no, I just think it's fascinating how much money people are willing to spend on things that are purely emotional for them. You know what I mean?
Right.
What's the benefit of this guy sending him $30,000 worth of donations? Well, he's getting something for it, but what he's getting is not physical. It's purely psychological or emotional.
Yeah.
And I do remember from like 6 months ago, an interview with, what's her name? She's a very famous chick that was on OnlyFans.
Good old, what's her name?
Oh gosh. Well, you've been pretty good at guessing names.
The Disney chick?
No. She's something blue or something.
Something borrowed.
People will know who she is,
blue.
but she's a British chick who dresses kind of like an anime character and crosses her eyes. That's the best way I can describe what she's done. And she's, reasonably attractive, but not like the prettiest girl you've ever seen. But anyway, they had an interview with her, and the radio station that was interviewing her said, look, obviously you don't have...
Let me interrupt. Noah Jenna Millennial says Belle Delphine.
Yes, absolutely. Belle
Wow.
Delphine. Yeah, very good. So Belle Delphine was interviewed by some British radio station, I think, and the guy said, look, you don't have to answer, but, how much are you making from OnlyFans? And she said, right now, about 32 million.
An hour.
Yeah, right. No, 32 million a year. I mean, that is a sizable corporation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a successful small business.
Is the female OnlyFans performer, is a good word, I guess. Is that the equivalent to a stripper like 20 years ago? When a guy used to go into the strip club
it's a stripper who owns her own strip club and has
yes,
thousands upon thousands of guys that she's doing lap dances for at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think that in a lot of ways, this is symptomatic of the breaking apart of the family, the nuclear family. Because if men are not spending their money to maintain their family units, they're going to spend their money on pleasurable things like video games, alcohol, and women. And not even the women they're necessarily sleeping with. So I think that this is all tied into feminism. This is this whole idea that women are equal to men, and therefore,
they're
women
not.
ought to
They're
be able to work.
Way better at making money on OnlyFans.
They're way more equal. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Hey, how about some parity of income on OnlyFans? Let's make sure that everybody gets paid the same.
No kidding, man. I have no name mentions that chick also would sell her bathwater and something about killing a dude with the bathwater.
Yeah, that's all I. She did sell bathwater, and like super successfully. I can't remember. It was something like $100 an ounce or something. For bathwater.
And I just wish I would have figured out this whole OnlyFans thing really early on.
Back when you were dealing with all the prostitutes,
right? Well, that's Lorenzo Rojo in the troll room at trollroom.io just said, the Playmate of the Year used to get a car in $100K, and yes,
yeah.
And the non-Playmates of the Year barely made anything, which is why they were setting up their own websites back then, but there was no easy way. And this all came down to funding. I mean, if we only had streaming Satoshis back then, then that would have been a great way to get.
Yeah, that's not going to pay the bills, man. $30 million a month versus a handful of Satoshis.
No, I'm just saying, if that would have been the case back then, a nice, easy way to move funds around. Because we didn't really even have that back then. There was no, I don't
using
think
credit cards
PayPal yet. Right. This was a whole different system. But damn, why didn't I see this?
Well, how were you charging money back then? I mean, these were not free websites you were building, I assume.
They were not, but I think a lot of it was sending in payments to PO boxes. I think you
get a little preview, then you'd mail a check, wait for a week, and then get access.
I think you could also take a credit card, but it was I don't think there was PayPal yet. I don't remember you
don't need PayPal. You could have just processed it yourself if you set it up.
Right.
That's business.
Through if I'm not,
the only thing PayPal really did is allow non-businesses to process credit cards much easier.
Yes, and I see that a lot of businesses have now turned to Zelle because of the fact that Zelle
is bank to bank.
So they do not have to tell the IRS about the transactions because they don't hold any of the money, I guess. This is what separates Zelle from PayPal.
Yeah, I think that's an old wives' tale. I don't think that is a thing. I don't think that's at all true.
What separates them otherwise? That's from what my understanding was reading on this.
Zelle is owned by the banking industry, unlike Visa and MasterCard. So it's a way to... Zelle was a response to not having to pay credit card transaction fees. That was the biggest thing. Because it's basically a cartel between the banks that say, look, we'll send money from our customers if you send money from your customers without charging us. And so it's effectively free to the banks, which means it's free to the individuals, at least for now. I'm sure somebody will start charging for it eventually.
But what separates them from if you send somebody money via PayPal, they are required by the government to put that down as a payment to like a company, and you're going to get a tax form at the end of the year. Zelle doesn't have that.
They do. Well, it's all part of the same thing. PayPal is a bank. So when you send money via PayPal, you're really sending money through your bank account held by PayPal. And so what they're doing is they're providing your banking information to the IRS, essentially, for PayPal. Your normal bank does that as well. So You just don't have PayPal involved, which doesn't mean the IRS is in the dark about any of these transactions. These are all transactions that show up in your main bank account.
Correct, but there is nothing that is automatically being reported on it, which is strange.
Every transaction by your bank as of about 2.5 years ago, every transaction over $100 is reported to the IRS.
Which makes sense. But I don't understand.
Not really, but it is what it is.
I mean, I know that's what they're doing, so this is why this is how it would affect the.
It's just going from bank to bank without an intermediary. That's all.
It is a bizarre world. There's no question about it. For how all these things are different and how they're affected.
The only way you can transfer money that's not going to show up anywhere is if you don't have a bank account number.
Well, but it's not even the question of it showing up somewhere. It's the difference between and being able to separate. I could give him like, hey, Gene, I like you. It's your birthday. Oh, here's $500. Well, you don't have to put that down as income.
But you do, technically.
I don't think you do as gifts. I mean,
gifts are taxable.
And
there's certain provisions. There's certain provisions, just like nobody pays use tax. If you got something without paying income sales tax, you're technically still supposed to pay use tax on it, which nobody ever does. But there are certain provisions and limits to what is allowable gifts. But if you send me a gift of a few $1,000, technically I got to pay tax on that.
Now, Zelle, let's see, they posted that they aren't required to send out a 1099K because
they're going from your account to their account.
Because it says because they're not an app and they don't hold your money.
PayPal, and this is I guarantee you was going to be challenged in court. PayPal shouldn't be sending you a 1099 either, because PayPal is a bank. It's an intermediary. Your account has your social security number. And maybe that's the thing is, if they don't have your social security number, then they're going to send you a 1099. But if they have your social security number, then it's an account. It's not it's not a transaction.
Correct. It says here
we don't give financial or legal advice on this show. Just a reminder to everybody.
The quote from Zelle says the law governing 1099 does not require Zelle to report transactions made on the Zelle network to the IRS. On the
and
IRS,
neither does PayPal.
You can find information that reporting by third-party settlement organizations applies only for transactions for the provision of goods or services settled to a third-party payment network. Zelle is not a third-party network.
Correct.
To facilitate messaging between financial institutions. So that's the difference. You don't have a Zelle account. They're just what you're using.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You don't have a Zelle account. Zelle is something that your current bank account has as a feature. It's not a third party. It's that's why I said Zelle is created by banks to bypass credit cards.
Which makes sense.
But also the assumption that anything you get through PayPal is taxable income is also wrong, because quite often PayPal is used for paying back loans, or even small things like you go out to eat, one guy picks up the tab, everybody else sends him PayPal for a few bucks. That's not freaking income.
No. Well, this is it. And this is on Terry Savage's website, who has been around for a long time. In different newspapers, I've read her articles saying a key loophole under the current estate and gift tax law. You are eligible to gift up to $16,000 a year to any number of people, and there is no tax consequences to the giver or the recipient of that gift, which means if you're selling a bunch of stuff through Facebook groups or whatever it is, and it's a personal payment that's being sent, as long as it's like, well, this is just a gift, this isn't a sale, this is a gift. If the person on the one side,
if you remember, PayPal always has you check, is this a gift or is this a sale?
And they don't with PayPal. If you send it friends and family, I don't believe that shows up on their tax forms. Then it's only if it is down as gifts and services with that, or I'm sorry, as products or services, because the difference there is,
we really should all just stop using PayPal because they're an evil organization.
They're all evil.
But I suspect I probably have like 50, 60 transactions in PayPal every single month, because I use them for things like ordering food online, So
wait, there's more than 60 a month. That's like breakfast, lunch, dinner, second dinner, third breakfast.
I don't order 3 meals, dude. Please.
You got to order something for the snakes.
Okay. Update. Remember on the last show we were doing, you correctly guessed the brand name of the cooker that I was ordering?
Yes, the Kasori air fryer.
Still don't have it.
Why not?
Amazon, supposed to be 24-hour delivery. I was talking about it because I'd already ordered that the day before the show, and it got lost in the mail. So
what was it? It can't be
never
an
showed
Amazon
up.
shipper then. It was UPS or something?
It was Amazon. But I think it was like Amazon, but shipped through the normal shipping. So after a few days, I kind of bitched to them, and they're like, "Oh, well, wait a couple more days. It should show up. Sorry about that."
You're like, no.
Anyway, never showed up. So finally, like 2 days ago, the option changed to lost in the mail. We're sorry. Would you like to reorder? So I'm like, God damn it. Okay. So I finally reordered it, and it's supposed to show up today now, according to the
I was
schedule.
considering ordering a new one because we've had ours for like 2 years. There's a new version out.
That's probably the one I got.
And the new version allegedly like even cooks 20% faster, which I'm wondering, how do you do that in an air fryer?
You blow more.
I guess. It's like it's a temperature. There's a fan. I don't know how you make it cook any faster.
I think that's exactly what it is. It's just a faster fan.
More airflow, and that speeds things up.
Yeah,
that could make sense.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not a physicist.
Because you're trying to get as much air to the food to warm the food up per second. So the higher the airflow of a particular temperature, the more warmth, the more energy will get transferred to the food itself.
Well, hopefully you'll get that soon. It is a great air fryer.
I'm looking forward, man. I'm looking forward to a square basket.
Yes.
That's the main thing, because my round basket has just been a pain in the ass.
The square basket. I mean, there's enough room.
But while I'm waiting for that, I've actually made stew a couple times.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. It's getting cold here, dude. It's in the 70s today, so it's already cold, and it's supposed to drop to 39 tonight.
Well, like here, it was 75 yesterday. Right now, 45.
There you go.
And tomorrow, highs in the 30s. So winter's here.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's coming here as well, which is. It's good. It's about time. It's been a long ass summer.
That basket, though, is big enough that we had a rotisserie chicken that we got, the pre-made ones at the store.
Yep.
It'll fit in that basket.
Wow.
So it's like if you want to like reheat that thing up, or if you bring it from the store and it's a little cool, you throw that thing in there for about 5-10 minutes and it heats it up that skin. Oh, it's good.
Do you get the regular size ones from grocery stores, or do you get the insane jumbo ones from Costco?
Just the regular. I don't think we've ever gotten one from Costco. I did buy a whole chicken a few weeks ago, but it was way too big for the air fryer. So I just had to put it in the oven for like 2.5 hours. But that was still, it's so easy to do. I don't know why I've never done that before.
I love making soup in the pressure cooker. It's like 15-20 minutes, and it's super tender.
Cooking tips right here on Unrelenting.
Well, you got to use these things, right? Because I probably pull out the pressure cooker like once a quarter, and then
and you pull
use
it
a couple
out
times,
and you use it a lot. Then it goes away.
Yeah, it's mostly sits in the cupboard, like not really getting used. But
it's like my popcorn maker. It's
yeah. There you go. I bought popcorn for the first time in probably 3 years just recently.
You know what the trick to making the perfect at-home popcorn to make it taste just like the movie theater does?
What's that?
Coconut oil.
Yeah, I like coconut oil. That's good.
You use that in the little. It's one of these. It's a hot plate with a little stick that spins around. That is the grand total of the mechanics of this thing. But
it's like an ice cream churner.
Using, just so it doesn't stick to the bottom and all this. But it does make a difference. I was surprised that the coconut oil, rather than just using a little butter or whatever other kind of oil to make the popcorn, it makes a huge difference with the taste. I don't know if it's any better or worse for you, but there you go.
Well, they don't use coconut oil, but that's good if you can find something that you like the taste of.
Oh, you got to use it, man.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
I love coconut oil. I've been using it for a long time because it has a very high burn flash point. So,
which is also a plus. So you don't want to burn your house down.
Doesn't typically smoke. And like if you get to a point where you have smoke coming out of your coconut oil,
your walk might be a little
you're
too
doing
high
something wrong. Yeah. Because it really should not ever get to that point. And once you have smoke, all it takes is a spark and you got fire.
And then you've got a problem.
Fucked.
Yeah, it's like having a Tesla in the garage.
Exactly. Just like that. Yeah. During a rainstorm inside the garage.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want that. You do not want that. And I know people are now mad. They're like, I guess the Tesla is like the new MAGA hat because of Elon. Now everybody's, what? Is Elon turning into the new Trump? Is he going to be the new guy that
everyone hates?
Yeah,
I think so.
He's going to be the new Nazi, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, he is South African.
So everybody with a Tesla is now going to be like, I got to get rid of the. Looking for Tesla's cheap.
Every single interview that I've seen with people that used to work at Twitter starts with, well, I don't know how I'm going to be able to afford my Tesla now. Because they're all getting like 180 grand a year for sitting at home, not working.
So they're not making the OnlyFans money yet. No.
I don't know if any of them can. Maybe I'm sure some can. There are people that I guess could be decent looking working at Twitter, but
what are we going to do about this inequity for hot chicks making more money? This can't stand.
I know I got to imagine the women are just really mad about this right now because they all want equity.
Done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something has to be done.
I think OnlyFans just need to take all the money in and then split it evenly amongst all the people that are on there.
Right.
OnlyFans/Sergine, and then make sure that. Yeah, and then make sure that everyone's paid fairly, which it can only happen if you combine all the tips coming in.
Yes. It doesn't matter if you have 2 people on your list or 2 million, you're going to get the same amount of money. It's like a tip jar at a restaurant. Everybody splits the tips.
Yep.
They're all there making the salad for you,
Yeah, or sneezing into it or coughing into it or whatever.
Yeah, it depends. Depends on how you treat your waitress.
Does it though?
No, probably not. I've never worked in the food industry, and I'm happy about that fact.
Mm-hmm. You're oblivious to it, what's actually happening?
Exactly. And I would rather make my own food most of the time.
Yeah, there you go. I tend to agree with that, except for the times that I don't.
Except for all of the times you order food for somebody to bring to your front door.
I do enjoy the food at my front door. That this is a function of fucking COVID. I never used to do this. I always thought it was stupid to pay money for delivery. Like I can get in my own goddamn car, drive down and pick up the food and eat it there or bring it back or whatever. It was just not a big deal to go anywhere. And then during COVID, a lot of places just were closed for in-restaurant food, but their kitchen was open. And so way more places started having delivery available. And of course, you get Uber Eats and Food Grubhub and all these other places.
Right.
And consequently, I started getting used to the fact that I could just, flip through a bunch of web pages, find something that looks good, and have it here about an hour later. And it's a hard habit to break because it's so goddamn convenient. And my meal, I eat a different meal every single day from a different restaurant.
And you never have to leave the house.
And it's not like I don't want to leave the house. I'm so used to it now. It kind of feels like, well, I wouldn't even know where to drive to if I had to go and buy food now.
You're like, where are these restaurants I keep getting food from?
And I've generally, I've worked from home for a damn long time. Or at least, mostly from home. Like I've had clients where I fly out there for a week and then I'm home for a couple of weeks and I fly out again for a week. But even when I was doing that, I've never before COVID was ordering food delivery with the exception of pizza.
Well, and COVID started, maybe not started, but really accelerated the whole concept of ghost kitchens, which I think is fantastic, which is the restaurant doesn't actually exist anywhere but on the app.
Mm-hmm.
You can't drive up to it because this great Chinese food you're ordering is coming out of the back of a Mexican place.
There's a place that opened up a few miles from here that is, I think, one of the new concepts that's being created now as a result of this, which is basically what would have been a restaurant, but it is literally just a kitchen. It is a restaurant minus any of the actual seating area. So it's only meant for pickup and drop off, but it's not like a food truck. It's not a hole in the wall. It's a McDonald's sized pure kitchen. And they have much better food than McDonald's, but it's like size wise, it's a building that size that just houses a kitchen.
And you can do anything out of that.
And they do. And I think they're building them and then they're renting them out to whoever, wants to rent their kitchen on a month-to-month basis to cook food and sell it.
Right. You get your little station. So that way, if you have your own specialty, you are now a restaurant.
Yeah.
You're on Uber Eats. Boom.
Yep. Exactly. That's exactly right. And I think the other big business that's kind of benefited from this is photography, because all these little hole in the wall places now, even the crappy ones, and by crappy, I mean not quality of food, but just size of business, they all have beautiful food photos. If you look, like, they don't even have plates because they don't serve people at their location, but yet on Uber Eats, all their food is plated absolutely beautifully and with good light. And so absolutely, there are companies that are like, hey, you want to do Uber Eats? We have the $5,000 package for you that'll make your food look like it's a top tier restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Who would have thought food photography would be big?
Right? It's kind of like drone photography for real estate. Like, that was the thing that really brought drones into mainstream, was real estate.
Oh, yeah. Which you can't not see those now. If you go looking at any home for sale.
It's all got flying footage now, yeah.
You have to have it, along with the really, whatever the lens is that makes every room look five times the size.
Yeah, it looks huge. Yeah. So these are rectilinear wide angle lenses. That's what they're called. So they're wide angle, but they're not fisheye. So in the fisheye, you got wide angle, but everything's like curved.
Right. You can see the distortion.
Yeah. So what this lens does is it's why it's called rectilinear, is it does the same zoom out kind of view, same perspective, wide angle, but all the lines are straight.
It is an illusion.
It's not an illusion. It's what your eyeball would actually see. It's closer to what your eyeball. We don't see curves out of our eyeballs.
But when you look at the photos online, you're like, wow, those rooms are huge. And then you walk into it and you're like, oh, it's a closet?
Yeah. What? But you got to keep in mind, like, these photos are taken from the top left corner of the room.
Right.
And you can literally see the wall that's 5 inches away. So because that's an unusual lens to use, we're just not used to it. We're assuming that, well, if you can see something 5 inches away, that means the camera is like 5 feet away. It's 5 feet back.
Right. Not so much.
But it's not. It's literally showing you, if you stick your head right in the corner and look around, you'll pretty much see the same thing that camera's seeing.
And I always wonder, if there's a big difference when people then go look in the house. Obviously, it works because they're using it everywhere.
People are buying houses sight unseen, at least here in Austin.
Well, here too. I don't know if that's still the case, but it was.
Yeah. I think the market is cooling. I think it's still a pretty good market here in Austin for a seller, but it is cooling. But we have had an artificially high market. Literally, housing prices have doubled in 3 years.
Yeah, which is a little bit
a little high,
inflationary there. Yeah,
a little bit. But that's happened in a big way because all the Californians are selling their 1950s 2-bedroom houses for $1.8 million in California, and then moving to Austin, going, what? For like $1.5 million, I can get a 3-bedroom?
Right. So that's what everybody in Austin went. Let's keep raising the prices.
Oh, absolutely, dude. That's why I started building smaller houses, but keeping the prices the same.
Supply and demand, baby. It is a beautiful thing.
The number of $1 million houses that are under 1,500 square feet right now is huge.
Well, that was at the time we were thinking of moving to the Nashville area. That was before the property there went nuts. And it was like,
oh, it's nuts.
What we can get here as opposed to what you can get there. It's not even close.
Yeah.
It all depends what you want. I mean, I wish I would have gotten the hell out of Illinois because there's really no.
I know. So do I, man. I mean, it's just like I worry about you with all that crime and pestilence and, evil things going on there all the time.
Hey, I am locked and loaded, man. I've got, as I like to point out, I think there's 3 or 4 guns within arm's length when I'm, we're very close, a little over.
Well, every podcaster ought to have 3 or 4 guns within arm's length.
Yes, because you never know what's going to happen.
I mean, I'm feeling a little inadequate here. I've only got 1 where I'm sitting.
As long as you can get to it, that is it. I can just see, if somebody comes through the front door, you got to be ready. My buddy Ron.
Well, I just have a shotgun pointed at the front door permanently.
Oh, well, that works too.
So just in case.
My buddy Ron, God rest his soul.
I think my Amazon Alexa can trigger it.
Oh, well, that's a little more dangerous because that thing does not always recognize the correct words.
Oh, mine speaks Russian.
Oh, you made your Alexa speak Russian?
Oh, yeah. You can pick language. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, totally.
Well, see, now, if you speak a language that most people don't, that will be in your home, that is very convenient because then somebody probably won't
that's what you do with the dogs. Like most police dogs actually speak Croatian or what's the other place? A lot of them come from Serbia. The dogs usually speak Croatian or Serbian, and so the cops have to learn the command words.
I don't know if the dogs actually speak those languages, but I understand what you're saying.
They understand that language. They speak woof woof, but they understand Croatian or Serbian. Most German Shepherds that are in U.S. police departments are not born in the U.S. They're immigrants.
They're not born in the USA.
No, definitely not.
But my buddy Ron said years ago that he pretty much predicted.
No, this is a dead guy.
Yes.
Yes.
He was always a lot of fun. He was the one that predicted that my wife and I, once we both got our 6 hours, that it was all going to end very much like that Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie movie was Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, yeah.
That we'd be like sliding across the wood floors while firing at each other.
That was a fun movie. I remember watching that shortly before I got divorced. And
well, see, that probably helped.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, she is pretty good at the gun range.
Yeah, you got to be careful then. Because you can't outrun a bullet.
Well, if you're into Kung Fu, you can.
Oh, yeah. You could just swipe it right out of the air.
Kung Fu, you just got to know. You got to, tilt your head or lean back and let the bullets fly above you. I've been playing a little too much Cyberpunk, apparently, because I know how to get out of bullets' way.
Are you still playing that game? That's still...
I am still playing. I'm 350 hours into it.
350 hours.
Now you do that math, dude. That's I think I paid $50 for it, maybe 60.
Well, that's way better than a hooker.
I mean, that's better than any form of entertainment I can think of for the money.
Is it the rarity though? How many games do you buy and then you're like, this sucks, and it like after 2 hours you're done?
Half, probably half.
See, that's it. You just get in those cases, it's really just good marketing that gets you in.
Yeah, it's like I either watch somebody playing it or it literally is just like good marketing on Steam. There's like, oh, this looks like a neat game, and you get into it and you're like, what the fuck? This is confusing as hell.
You're like, the main character in the game looks like Scarlett Johansson, and then that wears off.
Yeah, well. In this game, one of my created characters definitely looks like Scarlett Johansson.
Pfeiffer says there are definitely dissatisfying hookers too. Sounds like that's an experienced statement there from
game player.
Yeah, from different game. Sure.
There's no hookers in that game. What are you talking about?
I think he's playing the game of life.
Oh, okay. There are definitely a few hookers in the game of life. That's true.
Yeah.
But I love the 80s retro vibe that game has. It's like future 80s.
Right. Well, that's what the whole steampunk concept is.
Mm-hmm. But no, steampunk is like future 1910s.
Retro future. Well, yeah, right. The original. Yeah. So you're just taking that concept and putting it into the 1980s.
It's cyberpunk, not steampunk.
You would just live in the 1980s if you could.
I did live in the 1980s. It was a good time.
for eternity. I mean, your idea of heaven is living in the 1980s.
Yeah. I would, if I had to pick a single decade to repeat over and over, I would definitely pick the 80s.
But would you play it exactly the same every time?
No, of course not. Every time you play it slightly differently. That's the beauty of playing a game like this. So I've played, 300 some hours, whatever. What does that actually mean? Well, I've played now through the game. So it's a game playthrough. I think I'm on my fifth one. And each time you try things that are different than what you did last time, because that's what makes it fun. It's like, well, what if I would have done this? How much difference does that make? What if I, instead of being like really good at shooting, I'm really good at hacking, or I'm really good at ninja skills?
And every one, it's like those old books where you could choose your own adventure moving forward. You're like, I'm going to go in as a different character and see how. I love
those books. Yeah, those were great.
They're still around. I saw not too long ago, there is a website or program, I forget which, whether it was online or something you actually had to download, but it was a way to make those. So it was the computerized version of that, which I'm like, that is fantastic. I
wrote software that did that in 87.
It's like, it seems so mind-bending that you have to remember then, because there's all these little, basically vignettes that you have to make sense. You can't like have something, a choice you made earlier come back and burn you. So there are just so many choices. It is like a lot of the sci-fi that tries to decipher this, like, well, what would have happened if this one little thing would have changed?
Yeah, they like to get. I think this is one of the things where I tend to agree with the way they did it in Cyberpunk, which is that certain small choices end up opening up new paths, but also there are plenty of path conversions, or is it convergences is the word I'm trying to spit out here.
Yes,
yeah, that bring you back. So you may have picked two different choices, and they have different consequences, and then you go through that path. But then later, those two paths both converge so that the end result is the same. And I think that's actually true. That's the part I think everybody forgets about in real life as well, is this, the butterfly effect. The smallest thing can have a huge difference. Yes, but that doesn't just work in one direction. It works in both directions, which means huge differences in actions can result in a tiny change in outcome.
Yeah. I mean, if I can give a little bit of a spoiler,
it's a corollary
right here, everybody, their game of life is all going to end the same way. You're going to die.
Well, for you all.
I forgot. You're a vampire. This is why we see photos of Gene in the 1800s.
And that one in the mirror.
Well, of course. If you ever walk by a mirror when you're next to Gene, you'll be like, yeah. Wouldn't doubt it.
Just like that. Just like that.
Go on one of those. What's the Disney ride? The Haunted Mansion. Go on that with
Disney's going out of business.
Yay.
Yay. All for that. I think we have some new real estate in Florida that's going to be opening up.
Pedo Land.
Yeah, Pedo Land can get redistricted.
And it's sad because I used to be a big Disney fan. I mean, it was back in the day as a kid.
Never. I've never been a fan.
I was a big fan. And
the Daffy Duck and Nazi uniform cartoons were pretty funny, but other than that, just not a fan.
That's your takeaway of Disney, huh?
Pretty much.
Daffy Duck. Yeah.
He's making pro-Nazi propaganda in the 30s.
They have a 2-day experience, which is based around the Star Wars universe, which seemed like a really cool idea. Again, going back to kid me, this would have been the ultimate. This would be like somebody coming up with an area that is, the size of a large football stadium with all different types of, rooms and restaurants. If you could go into something like that would recreate the 80s, you would dig it. Living in that, being able to be submerged.
Like a Back to the Future experience for 2 days.
Right. Like everything was back to the way the 1980s, all the dress, all of the, everything. This is what they did with Star Wars. And they were charging, I think, like $6,000 per person or something crazy like that. And it turns out they're like at quarter capacity now. There's like 3/4 not filled. They're cutting things out. The the thing is just failing miserably.
It's a good time to be rich right now because normal
I'd
people
like to
don't
be.
have the money to do a lot of things that they used to be able to do. Thanks, Biden. It's to go Brandon. So if you are rich, and I don't mean like, you make decent money. By rich, I mean you're not working for a living.
You're not working and you have millions in the bank or
you're living off investment income. I guess that's the distinction, right? So if you live off investment income rather than you're earning money by selling your time, which I am definitely selling my time, podcasting. Yeah, selling my time on podcasting. Maybe one of these days I'll get to a minimum wage. Probably not.
No, I mean, today, if we're going 2 hours, I think we're each making like $2 an hour.
That's fair.
Fair to who?
Well, it's fair for the value we provide, I think.
Yeah, well, it is. That's it. This is the value for value model.
Think about it. We're basically talking on a phone call. Who else is getting paid to be talking on the phone call?
This is true.
There's
a lot of
we're
people
not doing
that talk and don't
mass
get paid.
amounts of, yeah, exactly. Most people. We're not doing these mass amounts of research and writing stories. And God forbid I ever do a podcast where I write a script of what I'm going to say. That's work. I'm not going to work, man. This is not about work. This is about having a conversation.
Oh, I agree. And that's the way I like to do all my shows.
Speaking of working, okay, sorry. Let me pivot. Can I pivot?
I'm like, wondering what this segue is now. Yeah, sure. Pivot away.
So here's my pivot is an ad for my other show.
Oh, no. The dude named Ben, the good old boys.
So I've got the good old boys, right? Which is taken off on its own, slowly rebuilding with a new RSS. I think we're at about half the listeners that we were with Sir Gene, but that's totally understandable. These are people that basically
that don't like dude
after 3 episodes. No, it's just people that I think the people that actually listen have figured out to move the RSS. The people that have the RSS downloading but don't actually listen to the show, aka bots, they have not done that.
True. Right, because they haven't been able to.
No, they don't listen. So they're like, oh, whatever. But I'm still doing Sir Gene. I'm just doing it with other Bens. I don't know if you've noticed. So I've had now 2 other Bens named Ben.
Wait, Sir Gene Speaks is still on? It's still a show? Hell
yeah. Absolutely. You should listen.
Yeah, I should, really. You probably talk bad about me over there.
I do all the time. and then this is my other brother, Daryl.
Exactly. How many brother Daryls have you found so far?
Yeah. Well, I found 2 other Bens that are Bens, which is hilarious. So,
I want to have you on a show with 3 guys named Ben.
Well, I've had a show with, there've been 3 separate episodes, but I've had 3 episodes.
All 3 together.
All 3 at the same time.
Right. So
that might be tough to pull off.
So, Ben, what do you think about
Yeah, what do you think, Ben? Exactly. But, since I'm not doing the show with a dude named Ben here in Texas that I was doing, because that's on its own feed now, I've now done 2 episodes with 2 other Bens. I'll preview a couple other people I'm going to have. I'm going to have the dude named Gwiff on.
He's just a owner of a few bars out in the UK. Is he really?
Something like that.
He's an actor. Is he a dude? I didn't think he was a Ben.
No, he's not a Ben. No, he's a dude named Gwiff, not a dude named Ben.
Gwiff, I got you.
Yeah. And then we might just get somebody who's very angry and pissed off and likes tech.
Oh, Ben Rose.
Come on as a guest as well.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Not Gregory William Forsyth Foreman from Kent?
No.
Oh, dude. Is this true? Is this true? Breaking news. Baron Spud the Mighty. Gallagher dead. Is that true? I always like Gallagher.
What are all those watermelons going to do?
I know. They're like, oh, we're saved.
We're saved. Yeah.
Back in the day, he was hilarious.
I just kind of assumed he died like 30 years ago.
Right. Like, we haven't heard from him.
So
he was in the car with Sam Kinison. I don't know.
Somebody else just died recently.
So congratulations. Welcome to the new world.
This is called getting old. Is people that you can't even remember are dying around you.
Well, they're dying younger and younger. Coy Gibbs, son of Joe Gibbs.
No, that's
father of Ty Gibbs, who just won the NASCAR Xfinity
There's
Series.
somebody else that was just like somebody I assumed it was already dead. I just heard just died.
You're like, I'm surprised they were still around.
Yeah, it was like some actor, I think. Some actor just died in this last week that I was assumed was already dead.
Who did Gene think was already dead? Vote now.
Yeah, I don't know. Think about it. But it was clearly not enough of a impact on me to remember a couple days later.
Right. But who it was, you're like,
I don't know. Somebody died.
Yeah, I would say you won't see them in the movies anymore, but with AI and the ability to insert dead people into...
I think that's going to get much better. I'm going to predict right now we're going to see Marilyn Monroe in a movie probably in the next 5 years.
That seems fair to me. That does.
They have enough content of her to generate a facsimile.
And all it's going to take, I would guess, would be her estate to give the okay.
It may have been long enough that that's no longer needed.
Oh, you know what? This opens up a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah.
When it comes to copyright law and trademark and all of that.
Yeah, because she was not a Disney. She was not a Disney property, so she doesn't have a 100-year trademark.
Right, but does an individual person? I mean, the fact that it's like, well, okay, after X amount of years,
well, can we make a movie about Abraham Lincoln?
Well, you can make a movie about them, but you can't use their actual likeness, which would be the difference. You can make a movie.
What if you use a computer-generated, synthesized, totally accurate Abraham Lincoln?
Now, as a president, I'm sure there's a certain amount that is public domain. As we talked
as
about,
an actor, everything's public.
The messages that the White House puts out, but as somebody's likeness, I don't know. That just seems very creepy to me that you can take somebody's likeness and be like, we'll just have this thing, this recreation, do things that maybe the original person would not have. Okay,
literally every movie that is based on historical people is that.
Right, but it's not using the actual person's...
What, the actual person's computer program?
Using their image. You know it's an actress or actor playing the part.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the real Marilyn is not going to play the fake Marilyn.
Well, but there's
no difference. You're creating a difference where none exists.
I thought you were saying you're going to see the Marilyn Monroe, her exact likeness.
Yeah, exactly.
Being
in a
used.
Movie.
Well, that's the difference. Yeah. I don't know what the legalities would be at that point.
There's nothing. It's totally open. There's no way
it's totally open.
Totally.
Not in this country. No way. With all of the stuff with copyright laws and stuff, you can't just be like, oh, that person's dead. I can now assume their identity and AI them to the world.
So you're saying that in the United States, there's never been a cartoon or a computer generated image of a dead person.
Cartoon is different.
No difference. That's all that it is. It's just a super high quality
cartoon. Look at a cartoon and go, oh, that's the
I don't
real
care
person.
what they look like. You're talking about feelings here.
No.
The reality is there's no difference between a cartoon.
A cartoon
no
would
difference
not be
between
an
a
exact
cartoon.
image. No, that would be different.
This is a high resolution, high quality cartoon. Computer generated art
still look like cartoons.
Is a cartoon.
To you, does a high resolution cartoon look like reality? Because
absolutely,
that's not how a cartoon looks like.
Yes, it is. You know, okay, old man. I don't think you know what a cartoon is then.
No,
because a cartoon is anything.
I thought we're going back to Daffy Duck, 1939, in the Nazi uniform. That's a cartoon.
That is a likeness. That is a true to life likeness. Did Daffy Duck give his permission to be in a Nazi uniform?
You're okay. So now you're going down the rabbit hole that there was a Daffy Duck.
Were you saying there wasn't a Daffy Duck?
Was there a Pluto? Was there a Goofy? Was there
absolutely no? They actually have. Yeah, Pluto was stuffed. That was what's his face's dog. That's a historical fact.
Damn. Well, the dog
Disney's
should be getting paid a lot.
Yeah, something. No, cartoon is anything that does not exist in the real world. It's something that is created by people. It's art, as is something that is a photorealistic. There have been plenty of photorealistic cartoons out there.
But I guess it would depend on how it is being labeled, which I know really doesn't make that much of a difference. But if you're like, this is a brand new Marilyn Monroe movie, then no. Now, I mean, the technology is there to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that with Star Wars again, which was right when they started really going downhill. Like, oh, Carrie Fisher's dead, no problem. We can AI her into this.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect example.
And it was very creepy then. And I don't know if people would like this or not. But the
tech is getting better and better, man.
Oh, the technology is great. I mean, and it's going to keep getting better, which everybody that wants to be an actor or actress or voice actor and actress, anybody that wants to be in that sphere, it's like, you're done. There's no reason to even care about you, because the minute I can take a virtual character, whether it looks like Marilyn, here's the beautiful thing about it. There's that, but there's very few people that have that kind of iconic status. I could just take the Marilyn Monroe image and I could just tweak it a little. So it's a really hot blonde, but it's not Marilyn Monroe anymore. It's different enough, but it's a person that has never existed in reality that doesn't have to be paid.
Right.
You know, these playmates even going back, oh, well, they were paid $100,000 a year to be playmate of the year. It's like, real women are never going to win this anymore, because virtual reality and the AI is going to do a much better job. And I do believe we're going to get to that point.
Probably. Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about. There's a movie that came out in the 80s.
Of course, we're right back to Gene in the 80s.
I know,
this
right?
Is why
I believe it was called
Weird
Looker.
Science. No, okay.
Looker, I think.
I thought you were thinking of Weird Science. Because really, as a kid, was that not well, you were older than I was in the 80s. But, you know, the whole concept that you could like go onto your computer and you could type a little bit and then Kelly Brock would show up. That was a really cool idea.
Yeah, that was a cool idea. And I mean, creating your own sex goddess in your closet for a teenager. So, I mean, what could be better?
Nothing.
Yeah, you're like, and then when they're playing with her boobs, I mean, like the size, they're moving the slider back and forth to make it bigger and smaller.
Yes.
Like ridiculously big. And you're like, whoa, whoa.
And you're like,
you'd literally do that in Cyberpunk. When you first create your character, you're like, how big of a boobs would you like on this character?
Nice.
Yeah, the movie, I believe, was called Looker. And it was a movie, came out in the early 80s about actors that are getting scanned, digitized by Hollywood, and then ending up dying. And then this guy and the main character in the movie is like investigating if there's any foul play involved to these actors' deaths, because the one commonality they had is they were all actors that had gone to the scanning thing. And it's so basically, to spoil the plot of the movie, essentially what he finds out is there's a plot by this Hollywood company to get rid of actors so they can just use them for free. And so they have, and this is the bit that's kind of hilarious, is they have real actors, real people get plastic surgery to fix all imperfections. And then they scan them and then they kill them. It's like, why wouldn't you just fix the imperfections digitally? It's much easier and cheaper.
Because they didn't have the computer power back then.
Apparently, they predicted enough computer power to be able to fully scan a person, which you can literally go and do that at most malls now, if those things still exist. A lot of malls will have the 3D camera setups to where it's basically you're inside of a little tiny small room that has like 30 or 60 or 80 cameras around you that generates a full 3D model of your head. And then, you know, they can print that in a little plastic thing or some other, you know, it's a little tchotchke thing. It's useless, but it's a way to get some money out of you.
It says this movie, Looker, was the first film ever to create 3D shading with a computer that produced the first ever CGI human character.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It achieved the feat before Disney's more famous Tron hit the screens.
Oh. What year did that come out?
1981.
I think it was early 80s.
Yes,
81,
Susan Day
really?
was the little Miss Partridge.
Who was the guy in that movie? Because he was a famous like B actor.
Yeah, James Coburn.
Was that it?
Yeah, he's and then there was Albert Finney as well.
Yeah.
But James Coburn's the one that kind of jumps out for me because he was a pretty famous
Yeah.
actor. And
Yeah. It was an interesting movie.
it made you think, just like
I hadn't seen it since the 80s, so I really don't recall much more than what I just said about it.
whether it holds up or not.
Probably doesn't. But in the 80s, it seemed like kind of a neat sci-fi sort of a thriller.
Is it sad or is it satisfying when you go back to a science fiction movie from the 70s or 80s and go, yeah, they had no idea?
Well, I did rewatch Logan's Run recently.
Ooh.
And I thought, holy shit, that's a much better movie than everything coming out today.
Well, that's not a high bar. It's a very low bar.
It's kind of a low bar, but they had a lot of high-techy stuff. They had, Jesus, I don't think most PG movies have clothes like they had in that movie. They're basically see-through chiffon clothes.
Which is why a young Gene Nevtuliev enjoyed Logan's Run.
Even an old Gene Nevtuliev enjoyed Logan's Run. No, that was I remember that when that movie was made, that was one of the complaints that the main actress chick that was in it had, was that, like, she didn't realize she'd be naked for the entire movie.
Like, surprise.
She wasn't technically naked. She was wearing pantyhose and she was wearing this like see-through chiffon kind of flowy shirt thing.
From
tunic.
1976,
a tunic.
Logan's Run.
Yeah. And Peter Ustinov was it, which I've always enjoyed him. He, his grandfather was the cook of the Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia.
Oh, well, this is definitely
a family
the Russian connection, right?
Yes. Exactly.
The Nevtuliev. People don't know the Nevtuliev line. You had to escape out of Russia because you were next in line to
That's true. Next in line to nothing. Exactly. That's
okay,
where I was.
There's another great title of the show.
And interestingly enough, that Peter Ustinov's grandfather was the last cook of the last Tsar of Russia. And Putin's grandfather was the first cook of Lenin.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's a whole grandfather's cooking thing going on here.
I don't know if I want to try unraveling that or not.
Well, I don't know. It's just a random fact. It doesn't really, add anything to your knowledge base.
A random thought, if you will.
It's something that'll never come up in a Trivial Pursuit game, which is a great game from the 80s.
Oh, right. Which you can still play and then argue about whether the results are still accurate for the questions. A lot of those have been.
I can imagine there's a computerized version of it.
There would have to be, because that used to be a fun game. But board games overall, kind of.
I think it was a very fun game because I tend to have a good
memory for useless facts.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly.
So you dominate. There's every game is way more fun when you dominate.
Yeah, it's not the case.
Like my dad would always beat the hell out of everybody in Trivial Pursuit. Yeah, but then when something came out like, oh, here's the box of nothing but Beatles questions, it's like, no idea.
Yeah, there were definitely like the sports edition of Trivial Pursuit. Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to play that.
Like, no, thank you. Or you could mix and match. Yeah. But board games used to be so much fun, but the computers ruined all that or made it better. I don't know.
I wouldn't go that far. No, I think there was a early computer game, I want to say in the late 90s, early 2000s, that was kind of a Trivial Pursuit-y game that was very cute looking. It had like a computerized game host, and then it would have a question, and then multiple people can hit the different keys on the keyboard depending on who's answering the question. I don't remember what it was called, but it was I thought it was pretty fun. It was just well done. It was done in a sort of a 1950s looking style.
Oh, so yeah, the retro thing going on.
Yeah, with a very excited kind of computerized host and was also a smartass host.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I enjoy smartass.
There is a game actually called Smartass, which is a trivia kind of game.
Oh,
which is
maybe that was it.
It was not. It's a board game though.
Oh, okay. No, that's not it then.
Which was actually easier for most people. I mean, Trivial Pursuit can definitely rage on and on and on. There's one called Wits and Wagers. I haven't played it in a couple of years, but that one was also good because the questions are numbers based. And, it could be like, well, how many, inches tall do you think an average orangutan is? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody would give their answer, but there was also a betting board. So, hey, if you like somebody else's bet, you could bet on who was going to be the closest, and that this was how you won the game. So you didn't actually have to know the answers to the questions to win, which I thought was a great thing to add into a trivia game, because there are some people that are like never going to get the answers right.
Yeah.
So this added a little different bit of strategy to it. But I still say the best board game over like the last 10 years is a game called, what is it? You get little guns, not guns, and it is Guns and something. What is the name of that game? Come on.
I've played a board game in decades.
Oh, well, you're old. You used to play them back in the 1940s. Cash and Guns.
Never seen it.
It is a fun party game. You're all playing a bunch of hoodlums who are robbing places. And it all comes down to when you are splitting up the loot, that who is going to be honest, who's going to try to screw everybody else. And you get a certain amount of cards that actually have a bullet in the gun. And otherwise it's just a blank, nothing in the chamber. So if you like point your gun at somebody and then they're like, haha, screw you, you're bluffing, and then you don't have the bullet, then you lose. But if you do have the bullet, then they take a hit. It's fun for the whole family when you can be pointing guns at grandma on the holidays. Let me just say.
Never seen it.
So at least we found something that you have never seen. I think
we can find plenty if we start looking at sports stuff.
That's true.
Yeah. Somebody I know on the social posted yesterday, something sports ball. and
your brain exploded.
No, I chuckled and I posted a reply back with a video of a chick that was like at a sporting event and saying essentially, yeah, it's go team, yay sports, stuff like that.
The only thing
I really leaning into the whole thing of like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
You got no clue. All I've been doing is watching racing. I have not watched baseball.
When's that big Chicago race that's going to shut down the city?
Next year.
It's next year. Okay.
In July. And, it's a 2-day thing. So they're running, I'm guessing, the Xfinity series here and the main series. But it's a 2-day thing.
It's got to be at least a week of bad traffic then.
Oh, way more. I think it's like a month before they have to have control. It's like a month. And then like a week after to remove the whatever is coming down. But the tickets,
all the barricades,
which is all temporary seating, let's understand. Because, it's a street race. The tickets range from, I think it was like $450 to $4,500. Yeah.
Well, the tickets here for our actual racetrack are for the Formula One is $2,000 a seat.
Damn, that's like the minimum to get in?
Well, no, it's that like for a good seat.
Gotcha. So you're like in the paddock, you're somewhere nice.
You're not in the box, but that's like I'd say that's the price of the highest price of a regular ticket. So you're gonna have good seats in a good section of the track, but you're not going to be in a private box or anything.
Which in Chicago, the private box may stop the bullets. So that may be helpful.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, necessary out there.
It's going to be interesting to see how that
works. There's an old movie that I should rewatch is Death Race 2000, the original version. Yeah. According
to the website, it's 231 days, 11 hours to the Chicago street race. They've got the proposed layout, the Chicago experience. So I don't know if you want
the Chicago experience sounds nefarious.
I know I don't know what they're going to be doing here.
So Death Race 2000, starring David Carradine, was a 1970 something movie. And it takes place in a future totalitarian United States of America. Well, that sounds familiar.
I mean, it sounds like today.
Except there was 2,000. Yeah. So yeah, it's basically an event that is a driving event, but in the same kind of idea as the games of the Coliseum.
In one person, if you want the President's Paddock Club, that would be $33.77. That's your cost without hotel. You
$33.77? Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where they come up with that number.
That's in one day, for one day or the whole weekend?
That was for the 2 days.
2 days. Oh, that's reasonable.
Could very well be.
That's only like $17.50 per day ish.
They're showing where the little clubs are going to be as opposed to the street course. It's like, of course, most of this, there's not going to be any seating. It's all just on one area. The rest is where the drivers are going to have to be careful that they don't get carjacked.
Or hit by a drone that'll be flying up above them shooting video.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's what the NBC or Fox, whoever does, that's what they use. Or all of the people who just bring their own out now will be interesting to see. I think it's going to be.
Dude, I totally forgot Sylvester Stallone was in that movie.
And you want to know what's even funnier? It's like within a month of the Chicago race, I believe, is when Taylor Swift's going to be at Soldier Field for like 2 or 3 nights.
And you're going to be camping out there for how many days?
Never. I do not go into Chicago for anything.
Even for Taylor Swift?
No.
Oh my God.
I would never go to a concert at Soldier Field. I did that once.
Why do you live there? Oh my God.
For Springsteen. Once I did that. That was it. Not good for concerts. And for Taylor Swift, for any of these big shows, like you see all of the Taylor fans on the socials worried about floor seating.
Yeah.
Which rightfully so, because you do realize when you're sitting on a football field that there is no pitch. This is a flat surface.
It's flat. Well, she's in the stage, so there's a little angle there.
The stage does have a little bit of a raise to it, but I'm 6'6". So the last thing I want to do is to be in front of any female at a Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, you're going to be blocking everybody for like 10 rows back.
I know. It's like, I don't want to deal with that.
I've never enjoyed large concerts. I don't like them. I think there's too many people there.
Yes.
I've preferred to see the bands that I want to watch in a small, cozy or private environment.
Well, I mean, you have the money. You're like, I like the Rolling Stones. I'll pay to have them come play my backyard. Definitely
don't have that kind of money or anywhere near that. But what I did do is I did music reviews for a while.
I did as well.
Yeah. And that's a great way to get into concerts for free.
Yes.
And to quite often hang out with the band, but also just like go to the gig after the gig.
The gig after the gig after the gig.
Usually in somebody's house. Yeah.
And that's when the real magic happens.
That's a much better way to, watch a concert. So, some of the best, musicians I've actually seen, in the audience of like 30 or 40 people or less.
I know,
which is pretty good.
That Robert Plant and his band just played somewhere in Scotland.
Really?
And they went to a little place that had an open mic.
That's awesome.
And we're hanging out for like an hour. And then Robert Plant got up and played the last song of the night, which would be like, damn.
Yeah. That's funny because you do that in Cyberpunk.
Really?
Yeah. In the game, you get the band back together again for one last time. And they pick a small little hole in the wall club where nobody's going to know that they're going to be playing, and they play one set.
And that is the secret. Nobody knowing that they're playing. It can't be one of these things that people know is going to happen and then they slam into it, because a lot of artists do that.
Yeah.
And it's fun. But the place is going to be packed and it's going to be insane. As much as I don't like Springsteen's politics, there are stories for years about him just showing up at bars in Jersey and playing. And it's like, it was, the stories are always the same. It's like Bruce walks in, the house band is playing. There's 10 people sitting in the bar.
Mhm.
And like within an hour of him getting up on stage, there's 1,000 people trying to slam into it because
Mhm.
word just, even before the internet, the word was able to spread. But that's how you want to see people. You want to see them in a small bar. I looked for tickets the last time Taylor Swift played Soldier Field, which I don't remember what tour it was on. It was before COVID. And we could have gotten front row tickets, but because of the way Ticketmaster has bastardized this whole system, and I know we're old, we're bitter. It used to be if you wanted the best possible tickets, you got your ass, you slept outside all night long, or you got really lucky dialing in when they went on sale on the phone, or when the internet first started and there was competition. You know, maybe you got in quick on the internet, but it was still usually better to go in person because the internet sucked ass. But that used to be the good old days. And if I showed up and you waited in line for tickets and you were one of the first, you were going to get really good tickets at the same price as everybody else. But that's the difference with the way Ticketmaster does things now. And I still think a lot of people don't even understand this, is that it is all demand-based prices. And I remember when the Taylor Swift tickets went on sale, front row popped up, but they were like $1,800 a piece or $1,600 a piece. Years ago. I'm like, fuck that. Like, no, not paying that, you know?
No, but somebody is.
Well, of course. Or if they don't, here's the thing. It's like, it's not about being first anymore. That, you know, if it was a $1,600 ticket, maybe an hour later, they're $1,500 tickets. And 3 hours later, they're $1,200 until they're sold.
I'm trying to remember what year I saw Robert Plant. I want to say it was like 92. No, it stuck in my head. I was trying to figure out.
He was kind of in his prime right about then.
Yeah, I think it was around 92.
He's still a pretty good act.
I saw Ozzy in 94.
Oh, was that before he was totally nuts?
That was way after he was totally nuts. No, he was totally nuts in the early 80s, dude.
Yeah. That's why I said Ozzy is one of the few people that I would make the case that most performers that you see have a television and or stage persona that go out and put on the act.
No, there's no difference.
Right. For Ozzy, I'm like, I think that's him. I don't think there's any act whatsoever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, there's... I think he burned out his... Well, Ozzy is proof that you can live without a brain.
Yes. It's very little. You just have to have a wife named Sharon. He'll take care of everything for you. Oh,
shit, my pants. Yeah.
That's, yeah. But Ozzy's had fun. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But there is that I think most people have that persona where if you were to sit down and chat with them, they'd be totally different than you would expect.
Right. Well, Gene Simmons is a fucking accountant.
Oh, yeah.
He's downtown. So.
He's a very smart dude. Although once you hear him being interviewed, he doesn't stay in that persona for interviews and things like that. You know, I was, probably not really, I wouldn't even say most surprised, but I was glad when I found out that Kid Rock is just a normal guy.
Oh, yeah.
I had a really good friend that, doing the whole country music artist thing that worked at one of the studios down there that Kid Rock was always at. And she's like, was one of the nicest guys ever that remembered everybody. And when he would come into the studio, he'd be like, hey, and he would ask them questions about their lives, where you just assume that he would just be a douchebag who would just come in and ignore everybody. Like, no, he was actually one of the nicer, down to earth people.
And what I found always fascinating is that a lot of these guys that have a very hard edged image and they're all tattooed it up completely. And, like you look at them, it's like, yeah, badass. And then you talk to them when they're not on stage. And it's like the mild-mannered kid from your high school.
Right.
Like, what the fuck, dude? What is all this bullshit on your body,
Entertainment. It's all an act.
Yeah, it is. It's just they're okay using their skin as a billboard.
And hey, it's like the OnlyFans thing. If you're getting enough money for it, why not?
Well, I mean, it's probably a few reasons.
Unlike podcasting, where we do have two people to thank for today, and I appreciate And I think these were the same two guys that were the only two on another podcast that I did the other day. So they're the ones. They're the ones hoisting up the rest of people. And Sir Truck Driver coming in with 565, and we appreciate that. And our buddy Johnny Hipwell up in Scandinavia, where things are always just
Yeah, I'm not feeling good about what's happening up there. The dictatorship that you guys have up there is just very sad.
Are you feeling well about anything up there? No, although I'm not really feeling that great about anything here.
True story.
But you guys, we applaud you, Sir Truck Driver and Johnny Hipwell, for being the only two people that are executive producers.
What the hell are you doing, guys? Come on.
Episode 50.
Stop doing
of the Unrelenting podcast on 11/11/22. I mean, this is like numerology.
This is definitely a numerology show. I will agree with you on that. That is kind of a cool thing.
The game you were thinking of was You Don't Know Jack, according to DigiGuru.
There you go. That sounds familiar. Yeah. Have you ever played that?
I have not, but I've seen the game 1,000 times, and I know there were like 4,000 variations.
I think there was a lot of variations of it, but I remember it came out. I think it was on the. I don't know what year it was, but it was it was not. I think its first version actually came on a disc. I don't think it was a internet thing.
Right, because then it moved to like PlayStation and all.
Yeah, and eventually I think it became an internet-based game. But the first version of it that I remember, a buddy of mine who's long dead, playing that on his computer, and it was came on a CD or a DVD or something.
Sounds about right. But I like the trivia games because they're fun to compete. They're no fun if you don't know the trivia, though.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. Yeah.
Uh-oh,
is right. You heard something click?
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah, my power went out.
Oh, okay. So surging is surging. You're on battery backup now?
Oh, yeah. We're on battery backup right now.
Uh-oh. Well, if you want to support the show before Gene disappears, it's unrelenting.show.
Yeah.
Bemrose, that's funny. He's off in Hawaii now, assuming he made it. The TSA.
Oh, is he?
That he wasn't on a list.
Okay. Because he'd mentioned he was traveling.
Yeah. Now, he was without power for like 36 out of 48 hours over a 2-day windy period, I guess, in the Great
Holy
White.
Shit.
Yeah. So I don't know. They're coming for you guys. All my co-hosts are losing power.
Yeah. What's up with that? I mean, I don't care. I can run on batteries. I got like an hour's worth of batteries here.
That's all you need.
Certainly I have enough to finish the show, even though I don't have a monitor. I could crawl under the desk and plug the monitor into the UPS. Apparently I didn't do that.
DigiGuru says he still has dozens of CD-ROMs of You Don't Know Jack. So definitely was a
wow. There you go.
Old school kind of game.
Yeah.
I still have CD. I have to go through all this stuff because I'm horrible about just throwing stuff in cabinets and closets. I know I have stacks of CD-ROMs. I have old computer gear just sitting in boxes. It's like it's never going to be good. I have to get rid of it all.
I have way too much stuff that had value that doesn't. Not. And the worst part of it is I have quite a bit of stuff that is still shrink wrapped that had value and does not anymore.
Really? Like what? I mean, because they're now doing grading.
Well, it has no value to me.
Right. Well,
it may have.
Now the shit that shrink wrap, they're grading fucking VHS tapes, and there was like a Star Wars seal 1977 that's
I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. Dollars. I'm talking about like SCSI cables, still shrink wrapped in the box.
Yeah, that's less exciting.
Even though it's got a lot more gold in it that could be recovered, I guess. I have just all kinds of peripherals and cables and things that just are not utilized anymore. I am not a pack rat by choice. I am just lazy at getting rid of stuff.
Oh, same.
That's the distinction, I guess. But I don't believe you because you've been getting rid of all kinds of things.
Well, we've started now with the tickets, which I find to still be a very interesting market for that stuff. Although I've also been looking, as I said, Victoria's Secret catalogs from like the 90s and 2000s going for big bucks on eBay. It's things that you would never think of. Old Sports Illustrated magazines, which I don't have. Like the first ever cover of Mike Tyson on Sports Illustrated. Granted, it was graded, and yes, there's a company that does grading on magazines like they do baseball cards, but the number one graded version of the first Mike Tyson cover of Sports Illustrated just sold on, it was a Golden or Heritage auction for 16 grand. Like, holy
Jesus.
crap. Yeah. And this was like
holy
from the
crap
90s.
is right.
You know, this was not like this was or 2000. It was not a super old Sports Illustrated. It's weird. It is weird stuff. But I have a basement now. So, I mean, it was harder. When I lived in the townhouse, I had like one little closet to throw all the crap in. So I was very limited. But once we bought this house back in whatever it was, 09, the basement was about 2/3 finished. So that's where I've got my bar now and the old podcasting rig, which I haven't used in years. And the other third was storage and the laundry room. So once you have the room for it, like when I got my new Allen and Heath mixer, I'm like, oh, this Behringer one? Hey, well, I'll just throw it in here. Maybe I'll need it. And then you never think about it ever again. But it's just sitting there. And I could still sell it. I could have probably sold it for more 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
As it sits in there, most of it loses value, although some of the stuff may be gaining. We don't know.
Well, there's certainly a lot more gaining than I would expect. That's for sure.
There's bizarre stuff. And you have to know, because a lot of people, when it comes down to like ticket stubs and stuff, you know, if you were like cleaning out somebody's house and you found a bunch of old ticket stubs, you would just be like, garbage.
Absolutely. I would never even think that will have any value whatsoever.
Well, I just found I have my dad's tickets, but I also have a box, which of course, as a kid, my dad paid for all the tickets anyway. But I went to an opening night back in 91, I think it was, for the Blackhawks. So I have 4 ticket stubs, one of them unripped, because it was always, we'd end up going with 3 people. Like always say, you need an extra seat because it's crowded.
Jesus, really?
Yeah, back in the day.
For an extra seat?
Well, my dad's buddy who had the season tickets, he just always ordered 4.
Holy cow. Wow.
So that's what you got. And I had no idea. I was just like scanning through tickets and I saw a Blackhawk ticket stub and I'm like, oh, what's this? And it was Lidstrom's first game with the Detroit Red Wings, Nicholas Lindstrom, Hall of Famer, NHL player. And I'm like, oh, what are the odds? And I went and looked in my box of stuff and I'm like, oh, got 4 of those. And I haven't seen any sell, but people are trying to get between $500 and $800 for them. So I'm like, well, maybe if I can sell them for even $400 a piece, that'd be pretty good.
Sure. Yeah.
That was just garbage sitting in a box as like, oh, just ticket stubs.
Wow.
I know. It's all what people will pay, though. And jumping on getting it.
We've talked about this. We don't need to recover it, but just the idea that someone is willing to pay for a ticket
that they didn't
somebody
go to.
else, that they didn't go to, that somebody else got, just makes no freaking sense whatsoever to me.
It's because they're looking for more things to collect. Like if you're a Michael Jordan collector, you can't afford a rookie ticket either. So I guess that doesn't make that much. You can't afford a rookie card. You can't afford a rookie ticket. But there are people doing weird things. I had a woman buy 3 or 4 ticket stubs from me that was collecting Tim Wakefield, the knuckleballer from the Red Sox fame. He played for other teams, but she was collecting Tim Wakefield games, and I'll pay $7 a piece. I'm like, okay, that's more than. Again, they were just sitting there.
Sure,
they were just sitting there. People will collect their favorite players. They don't have to be at the game. It's just a new collectible, and I don't really understand it, but it is happening.
But you're making money off it,
right? I don't have to understand it to want to make money off of it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's like podcasting. And I don't want to. So do you have any, as we're coming down to the end here, do you have any final thoughts? I don't want to cut you off or anything because people will get upset.
No, I think we're good. We've actually unplanned, but I think we've avoided talking about anything Russia related, which is perfectly fine. Like that does not need to be a topic of conversation every freaking show.
No, too much Russia is not good for the soul.
Nah, get rid of that Russia thing.
We like to have fun. We'll be doing episode number 51 next week.
Exciting.
Yeah, get your donations in now.
For episode 51. Yeah, I guess. Well, I think anyone that wants to donate this year to be on our register of people that have donated for this year, contrary to Gene's advice, should probably get something in soon.
This would be true.
Yeah. And we're going to publish that list of shame.
Yes, we will shame you all.
Shame you all. So if you want to be on the list of shame donation givers, make sure you get something done.
We are going to have the biggest episode 51 celebration anybody's ever had.
I thought that was going to be 55.
Oh, okay. For Sammy Hagar, I can't drive 55.
That's the one.
All right. Well, we'll be back next Friday, everybody. Enjoy your week. And I hope you get power back, Gene.
Yeah, I'm sure I will at some point. I mean, like I said, I've got about an hour of backup here. I just need to plug the monitor in so I can actually be on the computer instead of just talking into a microphone.
You're like, I still hear voices in my head. I hope I'm still connected.
Well, I mean, this proves that I've got the right stuff plugged into the UPS,
You're
right?
always like, one side is this, one side is that. I have seen horror stories where the UPS mislabeled the two sides, the one that was battery backup and the one that wasn't.
Well,
yeah.
So I have a backup on the fiber optic coming into the house. I have a UPS for the converter. I have another UPS for the I don't even know what, I guess, cable modem, but it's not really a cable modem. It's whatever. It's their router,
version, right?
It's their router. Yeah. And then I have another one, obviously, or several on the computer and the normal router and all that jazz. So yeah, there's multiple UPSs all running and humming away right now.
Donate now so Gene can get bigger batteries.
Yeah. Might need more batteries,
Yes, more batteries. Don't submerge them in salt water, though.
Well, hopefully it's not going to rain salt water today, but it's going to be cold. That's for sure.
Yeah, cold there and cold here are different things, Gene.
Well, you said it was 70s there.
Well, yesterday. Today it's in the 40s.
Yeah.
Tomorrow
well, it's in the 70s today, and it'll be in the 30s today.
People are like, I heard the ending theme. Why are these assholes still talking?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you play the ending theme? Apparently that didn't come through.
Oh, that part's not being routed through. I'll have to fix that.
Yeah, fix that. Yeah.
By next show. Nothing to worry about.
Sounds good. I'm done.